How you doing, guys? We got a whiskey review for you today. Irish whiskey review. New, fairly new whiskey to the NSLC. About $33 for 750 milliliter. So it's pretty good, pretty well priced. This is Kilbeggan. Um, Ireland's oldest licensed distillery, established in 1757. At least that's when their license actually dates back to. Earliest license they can find on record. 40% alcohol by volume, so 80 proof, blended whiskey. The original Kilbeggan distillery was bought in 1840s, I believe it was, by the Locke family, John Locke. They owned it till the 1950s or so, when the Irish whiskey market bottomed out, and this was just another victim of that. And so they ceased production in about 53, mothballed the entire thing in 57. It sat unused for quite some time until it fell into disrepair. The town of Kilbeggan took upon itself to actually repair the place and turn it into a walking-in museum, And eventually in the 1980s, the Kilbeggan name was bought up by Cooley, and Cooley was a big independent Irish distiller group. They have some other brands under their envelope or umbrella. They have Green Nor, I believe, and Triconal, I think it's how it's pronounced. Triconal, something, Triconal, something along those lines. But Kilbeggan basically became another one of their brands. They started making it in one of their facilities, and eventually they've gotten around to the point where they've totally restored the Kilbeggan, the original Kilbeggan distillery, and it's starting to produce whiskey again. I think they started in the early 2000s at some point, and they're expecting to release their first whiskey from there in forever next year, 2014. They currently, the ones made by Cooley, they have the one without an age statement. I don't know how old these are. I didn't do a lot of digging to find out, but I don't think they're particularly that old. Probably about 8 years, something along those lines. Oh, excuse me. Or it might be a blend of 12-year-old stuff. I don't know, 8 to 11, 12, something along those lines. And they have a 15, and they're planning on making an 18-year-old at some point. So, yeah. I already poured a little bit in a glass. I'm just going to put a little bit more in here. I've had this with water, and I'll talk about the differences that it makes with this one. Alright, so might be a little bit of caramel and coloring going on there, but it's a very light amber, so it looks very nice. A little bit of viscosity on the glass. You go right to the aroma. It's not your standard Irish whiskey aroma, in that it's not as sweet and complex as a lot of Irish whiskeys you'll find. Just the big name Irish whiskeys across the board are generally a bit more sweet and complex than this. I mean, there is sweetness there. There's this light honey sweetness. But it's much more about a malty character to it. It's got a very nice hay, grain, almost oatmeal kind of smell to it. And in the back, you're getting a little bit of the oak, a little bit of the vanilla, and you're getting almost this chocolate fudge kind of smell. It's very faint. Don't get me wrong. It's not like, woo, chocolate brownies or something, but there is a bit of a chocolate fudge kind of smell, and even a slight coffee thing. Most noticeable on the nose is there is a slight heat to it, a little bit of a bourbon kind of heat, a little bit of a bourbon burn, I guess you could say. Now, if you put water in this, for me personally, putting water in this is like a two-sided coin. There's a good and there's a bad to it. As far as the aroma, it does kill that burn. Like, you don't even need more than a few drops, and it actually really just eliminates that burn altogether in the nose. and it also brings out a bit more sweetness if you a little bit more complexity, and it kind of smooths out the maltiness a bit more. But so we'll go right to the taste now. We'll talk about that. Okay, think about this one again. It's not your classic Irish whiskey in the sense that it's got a lot of like light fruit taste to it. It doesn't have a lot of fruity complexity all over altogether on it, right? It's very much still that honey sweetness. Moves over to this nice malty body, graininess, oatmeal again. Finishes off with a slight chocolate fudge sort of character again. Coffee, a little bit of the wood, and you'll get a little bit of that bourbon burn in the taste as well. Not a big amount, nothing that'll make you go gag or anything like that. It's not hot by any stretch of the imagination, but you do notice the alcohol if you just have it neat. Putting water in it, and this is the unfortunate part for me, almost kind of destroys this one. Again, just even a little splash of water can kind of ruins the character of this one for me personally. I find it pulls out all these sweet notes. Again, not a high complexity or anything. Don't get me wrong, but it pulls out these sweet notes, and they're your more typical fruity sweetness. Kind of notes that you'll get in a lot of Irish whiskeys that I personally am not a big fan of, which is why I'm not really a big fan of Irish whiskeys altogether, because most of them sort of have that. I enjoy this a lot more without the water because it keeps that stuff at bay, and the water seems to kill the body in this one quite a bit too. You put a little bit of water in it, and the maltiness just kind of, the whole malt character of it just kind of goes away almost. It becomes very kind of flat almost and watery. And it kills that slight bourbon burn, which is something I personally like. I mean, if you don't like that, if you're more into traditional Irish whiskey tastes, then by all means put some water in this, because it'll pull out some more notes that you'd be more familiar with in other contemporary Irish whiskeys, right? But for me, I appreciate the differences in this one when it's, just neat. I appreciate it's a bit more dulled down, and it doesn't have all those sweet notes that really just kind of I find I just don't like. So it's just personal opinion. Just take that, with a grain of salt or whatever, because it's my own personal preference. If your personal preference is more standard Irish whiskey, by all means put some water in this fucker, and you'll probably enjoy it a lot more. Now, that being said, how good is this whiskey overall? There's not a lot of complexity. There's not a lot of big flavor notes. It's not very strong either way. It's very mild, very smooth. It's very much an introductory kind of beginner's whiskey, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, this does a very good job of that, actually. It's very, very. It's one of those ones I think anyone can get into. So if you're looking for like a first Irish whiskey to get into, this is a perfectly good one. But that being said, I can't really give it big high marks. I'm going to give it a solid B, though, because I really like... I'm actually really enjoying it. Like, it's not a big flavor blast. It's not, making my palate go, wow, amazing. It's not making me crave a lot more all of a sudden, It's not like a big Isla malt or anything like that from Scotland that's going to make me just keep wanting more and more. And sit back and like think and contemplate it. It's just very easygoing Irish whiskey that I just find more palatable than most Irish whiskeys. And if you're into mixing it, I suppose this would actually be even a better mixer than a lot of other Irish blends out there. Yeah, so a nice B, a nice solid B for Kilbeggan. It's a nice little blended Irish whiskey. There's nothing wrong with it. And, yeah. Cheers, guys. We'll see you later.